The Woman Who Fooled the Fairies. Written by Rose Impey. Illustrated by Nick Schoen.
Chapter 1. There was once a woman who baked the best cakes in the whole wide world. Her scones were scrumptious. Her tarts were terrific. Her biscuits were brilliant. But her cakes, oh, her cakes took your breath away. People came from miles around to buy them. The fairies loved the woman's cakes too, but they didn't want to buy them. Day after day, they waited under the woman's window. They hoped she would leave a cake out to cool. But the woman was far too wise for that. So the fairies said to themselves,
"If we can't steal a cake, we'll steal the cake maker."
Chapter 2. One warm summer's night, the woman was walking home through the woods. First, she heard 100 little whispers. Then she felt a flurry of fairy wings around her face. Soon, she felt too tired to take another step. She just had to lie down and close her eyes. When she opened her eyes, she found herself inside the fairy's palace.
"Whatever do you want with me?"
she asked the fairies.
"Bake us a cake," they demanded. "Now! We won't take you home till you do."
The woman sighed and took her apron out of her bag.
"Show me the kitchen," she said.
So the fairies led her there, dancing and singing as they went. The woman looked around her. The fairies hadn't a thing she needed. That was lucky.
Oh dear, she sighed. "Where is the flour?"
The fairies looked puzzled. They had no flour.
"I have plenty of flour," said the woman, "in my cottage."
The fairies flew straight to the woman's cottage. In no time, they were back with a huge bag of flour.
"Now will you make us a cake?" they panted. I will, said the woman. "But where is the sugar?"
The fairies looked surprised. They had no sugar.
"And butter?"
The woman laughed.
"I have both in my kitchen."
The fairies flew so fast they almost met themselves coming back.
"Now will you make us a cake?" they said, even louder this time. I will, said the woman. "But I must have eggs."
The fairies looked furious. They had no eggs.
"There's a dozen in my pantry," the woman told them.
In less than a minute, the fairies were back, juggling the eggs in the air.
Now will you make us a cake?
They cried louder than ever.
I will, said the woman, when I have a big enough bowl. A bowl?
They squealed at the tops of their tiny voices.
There's one on my kitchen dresser,
said the woman.
And bring my wooden spoon,
she called after them. It took 10 fairies to carry the woman's mixing bowl, and another 3 to carry the spoon.
Now will you make us a cake?
They almost screamed at her. Fairies have very short tempers.
Oh, I will, said the woman, now that I have everything I need.
Chapter 3. First, the woman beat the butter and the sugar together. Then she stirred in the eggs and the flour. The fairies watched her, their little heads turning in time with the spoon. When it was mixed, the woman shook her head again.
How can I bake a cake with no baking tin? Where is it? Where is it?
Squealed the fairies halfway out of the door.
In the cupboard under the sink.
The fairies soon came back, beating on the tin as if it were a drum. It was enough to give the woman a headache. She emptied the mixture into the baking tin. Then she looked around her again.
Where can I bake it?
Demanded the woman.
My tin is far too big to fit in your tiny oven.
The fairies looked as if they might burst into tears.
Of course, said the woman. I have a nice big oven at home.
Before she had finished speaking, she found herself being carried through the air. The fairies were tired of the woman by now. They tossed her between them like a pancake. But she landed safely in her own kitchen, where she stood grinning at them. Then the fairies knew they had been tricked. They looked so sad, the woman almost felt sorry for them. She said she would still bake their cake, but the fairies were too tired to care. They flew home to their beds. The next morning, when the cake was cool, the woman took it to the fairies' palace. She left the cake where she knew they would find it. It seemed a shame to wake them up when they had had such a busy night.